Shreya ma'am, can we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think all are here. We are going to start our session. First of all, good afternoon. Respected Principal, Professor Dr. K.R. Joshi ma'am, Vice Principals, all Head of Departments, and dear students of Modern College of Engineering. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Rajopadhye sir here with us today for our psychology session. Psychology helps students understand their own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, leading to improved self awareness and emotional well being. It equips students with essential tools to navigate the challenges of academic life, manage stress, and build effective communication and relationships with peers and educators, that is, we teachers. Dr. Nagesh Rajopadhye is ex-associate director of Accenture, a global multinational IT and consulting company. He served Accenture for 17 years and was the innovation lead across India delivery centers in his last assignments. By academics, Dr. Rajopadhye sir has done PhD in solid state physics from University of Pune. He started his career as a senior scientist in ISRO and then moved to IT industry where he worked. Dr. Rajopadhye sir has published more than 25 papers in international journals and has many patents in his credits. He is currently working in collaboration with an NGO, Parivartan Trust, on a not-for-profit social project, namely psychology testing for all. Under this project, he conducts psychometric assignments for students in school and colleges, which helps the students for building their career. Today, we have the privilege of learning from Dr. Rajopadhye sir, wealth of knowledge and experience, which undoubtedly bridge the gap between psychology and real-world applications. I'm sure we are all are eager to dwell into this psychology session and gain valuable insights from our esteemed guests. Now, I request Dr. Nagesh Rajopadhye sir to start the session.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for inviting me for this session. Uh, for those who were not present earlier in the previous session, maybe I'll just spend a minute on my introduction. So as she mentioned, I did PhD in solid state physics from University of Pune long back. Started my career as a ISRO scientist, senior scientist in ISRO. And that was a time when ISRO was not having so much of attention as much as it is today. So made a change over to IT. Spent rest of my career in IT. Worked in Accenture for 17 years and retired as an associate director. So the last assignment that I had, and I think I had mentioned this in the last session also, uh, but just to reconnect from where we finished last time. So the last assignment of Accenture was the innovation lead, where I was responsible for driving the innovation program within Accenture. And as a part of that role, uh, I had to change the mindset of the people. And how many people? 100,000 people. So it was a very interesting assignment, and that's where I first time came across the domain of psychology. I'm just answering the question that you may have in your mind. What is this physics guy doing in psychology and psychometry? By the way, psychometry means psychological testing. So that's the background from where I came in, and then when I was close to getting retired, like every other person in India, I also wanted to contribute to the society after the retirement, and I chose this as my field of working. Developed one innovative solution, which you all have given the test that you have given, mind wellness test. which proactively measures the psychological disorder symptoms in young students like you. So many times, you are wondering like why I'm not feeling well, why I'm not, feeling like doing the study and no motivation somehow. So all that restlessness, all that anxiety, is it really a psychological disorder which needs a different path of intervention, treatment, and all that, or is it just a temporary phase that I should not be paying attention to? This is a $1 million question. And many a times, since we as an ordinary person, we are not able to make out what is going in our mind is a psychological disorder symptoms, or they are just like something that we can ignore. Because there is a very fine line between these two. And the objective of the test that you all have given, the mind wellness test, and if someone has not given, you can give it anytime. It's a free of cost resource. It tells you scientifically and objectively whatever you are feeling is coming under the anxiety, and with what severity, if it is really coming under anxiety. Similarly, so we saw that through the test we could measure, or we could check our symptoms of depression, anxiety, social anxiety, which is slightly different, and internet addiction. And we chose these four because they are most prominent disorders among the youngsters these days. So let me share my screen, and before I go ahead, I just want to also tell you that for this session, I need your help in terms of interaction. I mean, it won't be correct, if I just go on talking and then you just listen to that, because we have to interact. And I would have loved to come to your college and interact with you on one-on-one basis, but I know there are some limitations. So we are conducting this session online, but let us make use of the chat box here. And I intentionally invited some of the students, the representatives of each class, in this Google Meet, so that we can interact. So those who are in the Google Meet, they have a special responsibility to represent their class, okay, and make sure that we keep this session live. Okay, for the others who are watching this webinar through YouTube, I understand there is no opportunity for us to interact. But maybe if you want, if you still have a very strong question, you can send it to your class representative, and then probably he or she can message me here so that I can answer this. Okay, so I assume that both the Google Meets and the YouTube, you are able to see my screen, and then I'll just proceed on the next slide now. So what we are going to see today, we have divided this session in two parts. One is we will see how to overcome internet addiction, because we went through the mind wellness test, and each of you have got the report. In the report, you have got your reading whether you have the symptoms of internet addiction or not. And this is something that this is like, I would say, a monster which has come suddenly in our world. We were not aware of that. Something similar to corona, I would say, that we were not at all prepared. No vaccine, no medicines, but it came and we had to fight it. So internet addiction is a very similar case, that it came suddenly. None of us were prepared, and it has taken a grip over each of us. And that's why it's important for us to see how do we really overcome the internet addiction. Now, before that, we talked about mind wellness, and we saw that there are these disorders, depression, anxiety, internet addiction, and even social anxiety, they are very prominent. Prominent in the sense, almost, out of 100, you will find 20-25 students suffering by either depression or anxiety or social anxiety or internet addiction. In fact, internet addiction is to the extent of 25 to 30%. So we'll have to really see how does this happen, and what is the origin of the psychological disorders. These are the three disorder reasons or root causes. One is biological factors, second is a psychological or individual characteristics, and there is a society or your environment and your childhood and parenting, which is all responsible for the mind state that you are in today. Biological factors, yes, there is a hereditary, some of the genes, they do play a role in our psychological status. That is one thing. Second, uh, even the age, that is also biology, because in certain age, for example, the adolescent age that you are all in, certain hormonal changes do happen in the body. I think you are all aware of, and that causes some of the changes in not only physical, but there are also the changes at the psychological level. So because of these hormonal changes in the body, uh, you know, there are certain uh, vulnerability of the person. The reason being, when you come in this age, there are several changes that happen around you, not only within the body, but even around you. For example, many of you might have left your village or town and come into the city. That's a one change. You came from one kind of education system or the ecosystem to a different education system. In the schools, we have more or less spoon feeding, whereas here it is a self learning. That's another change. This is the age where most of the students will have some relationships, and that will have a major impact on them. And then, also you can see that the kind of pressure that you all have because you are entering into the professional world. You are trying to create your own identity. That is also a pressure. So all these pressures, they really they make you vulnerable to the psychological disorders. And the worst part is the component of our brain, the part of our brain which is called as a frontal cortex, which is in the front, just behind our forehead. So that part is actually supposed to help us to overcome and face all these challenges around us. But the unfortunate part is that part gets developed by the age of 22 or 25. So that's the reason, why most of the teenagers, they are vulnerable to the psychological disorders. So next time, if you have some symptoms, or it's the kind of mind wellness test we all have given, if you find some of the symptoms, they could be because of the biological factors, and you can safely blame the nature or God, whatever you are assuming, for that. Because this is a I would say issue with the human beings, that we are not equipped with the kind of stability of our mind for the changes which occur at the age of 12 to 15. So that's the one thing. Secondly, each of us are individual. We have our own characteristics. This is again a bit of biological because of our own brain, but we all have our individual characteristics. Some of us have personalities, and those issues. So that is the another factor. Our thinking process. How do we really think about a given issue? That also matters. And the third, and you all know that in psychology, the childhood is the most important thing. You might have seen in the movies, that any psychiatrist or counselor, they will first ask questions about the childhood. Because whether your childhood has been secure or insecure, how has been your parenting style, are they restrictive, very well, very disciplined, uh, all that matters. Whether you have been abused, whether how were your peers, was there any bullying, all those things matter in your psychology. So as a result of that, today what you are, and that's why it is very difficult to pinpoint the reason for a given person. If someone is having, say, depression or anxiety, it's very difficult to pinpoint that because of this reason this person is having depression or anxiety. What is most important is attending to those symptoms. Let's not much think about how do they come and why they have come. I mean, of course the counselors, and it's their job and they will do that job, but for us to, what is important is how do we really face them and how do we really come out of that. So now let's go to, I think I will skip this part also. Like, there are various things. I will only request you to see your test report, because we have given some video links in the test report of the mind wellness test. Suppose if you have depression or anxiety symptoms, what you need to do, those things are given in that 8 minutes of video. Unfortunately, I have seen that many students don't even go and open that link, even if they are identified with the symptoms. But that's fine. I mean, I would request you to go there and take some help, and it will show you what are the next steps that you should be taking about. Uh, let's come to our today's topic. The internet addiction that we have been discussing, and as I mentioned, this is something that 8 years back, none of us were aware of, that this will be a disorder. Now this is identified as a disorder in the DSM. There is a manual which is followed by all over the world for psychological disorders, and it is identified as a regular disorder. So what I mean by internet addiction, let's talk about the internet addiction, is if you take two cases, on the right hand side, I take a case, I am the person, I am addicted to internet, and on the left hand side, I am the same person, but I do not have the symptoms of internet addiction. I may be using internet more, but I am not identified for the symptoms of internet addiction. If we take these two cases, there is a lot of difference between these two cases. And what is the difference? The difference is the changes in the brain. Yes, the changes in the brain. And because the brain undergoes certain changes in one case, that is addiction case, because of those changes, the thinking and the behavior also changes. If you remember the questions which were asked to you in the internet addiction test, there were some questions about your internet use, if you remember that. So those questions were asking about your behavior. Do you get irritated when somebody interrupts you? The behavior. Is it that, when you are not using internet, you feel restlessness? Because it's a behavior. And why that behavior is there? It is there because of certain changes in the brain, chemical changes in the brain. And we are going to see that. So that's why it is important to understand, first of all, we may be using the word internet addiction, or the addiction word we are using very liberally. That's why the title of the slide is more use and addiction. There is a difference in that. I may be using more internet, that's fine. If I do not have internet addiction symptoms, that is absolutely fine. But in my test report, if it says that there are symptoms of internet addiction, it's a different scenario, because in that case, my brain has got impacted by those addictions. And what are those changes that we are going to see in the next slide. But just to tell you, this is a percentage. Today in colleges, 28-30% of the students, they are having moderate to severe internet addiction. I'm not talking about mild. If you take about mild, almost everyone will see here. And it is a fact. You must have seen, that when some guests come to us, ideally we are supposed to attend them. And I'm not talking about you. I'm not giving any lecture to you, because this even applies to me, to everyone around us. So when the guests come to us, we feel a very urge of checking our phone. Ideally we are supposed to keep it in our pocket and attend to the guest, but it doesn't happen. We will just after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we may feel restlessness, and we will take out the phone and we will just check it. That is the internet addiction. And of course, I'm only smart enough to make sure that unless and until the guest takes his or her phone out, I will not take my out. The moment he or she takes it out, I will also take it out. So this is how we are all victimized today, of the internet addiction. Now let's do 1 minute activity, and this is a very small activity. Don't worry about it. Uh, you just make use of Google and find out what are the symptoms of either substance addiction, drug addiction, or alcohol addiction. So I'll give you 1 minute, and I want you to tell me. I mean, this is not a rocket science, and you are going to get those symptoms in the first page itself. So I just want you to go to the Google and search for this answer. What are the symptoms of drug addiction or alcoholic addiction? I'll just give you a minute. And those who are in the call, Google Meet, they are requested to put their answers in the chat box. Just let me know one or two symptoms. Okay, anyone who is very quick, anyone wants to type in the chat box? What are the symptoms of alcoholic addiction or substance addiction? Very simple. You just need to copy paste from your Google and here, or maybe type in your own words. Can I have an answer from someone? Yes, loss of interest. And Prem, really thank you for this taking initiative, because I know Prem and Sahil, thank you very much. You are the first one to send the message here. I really want you to interact and make this session lively. Okay, so let's read those symptoms. The symptom says loss of interest in daily routine or work. Yes, the next Sanchi says that changes in the sleep pattern. Yeah, weight loss, then loss of weight is another one. Then having intense urge for the drug that blocks out any other thoughts. Nice, very nice, Ritesh. So these are the symptoms. So if you see that, the reason I'm asking you to go through these symptoms, because the symptoms of internet addictions are no way different than these symptoms. Let's spend 1 minute of time on them. So these are the symptoms of internet addiction. Let's go one by one. Preoccupation with the internet. I mean, thinking about the internet when you are not online. Okay, I think those who are addicted to alcohol, for the rest of the day, they are, particularly if they are getting addicted to it, they are thinking about how and when will they take the next peg. Similarly, the withdrawal symptoms, feeling anxious or restless or irritable when you are not online. Very similar to what you have typed in the chat box. When someone is addicted to, say, substances, drugs, they are very restless when they are. I think we have seen this in the movies. Those who are taking substances, but when they do not have anything to consume, because the money is over, or because they are not able to having access to those drugs, you have seen how do they behave. They get restless. This is called as withdrawal symptoms, and this is also there in the internet addiction. Tolerance, again comparing with the alcoholic addiction, which we are all familiar with. Those who get addicted to alcohol, initially they take 2 pegs, okay, and then they will get what they say as a high or kick. After 2 pegs they get kick, they feel very good, but after some time that is not enough. Then they will go to 3rd peg, and that goes to the 4th peg, and even then they don't feel satisfied. and they go on taking more and more, which harms their liver, and all those things happen. Same thing goes with the internet. Initially you use it for 2-3 hours, but then it is not enough. It takes you to the next stage, which is 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours, and then it goes on and on. Loss of control, same thing somebody has typed in the chat box. So that you are very well aware. See, those who are taking alcohol and those who are taking substances, drugs, I think it's not a rocket science. Everybody knows that it is a very, very harmful thing for us, for the human beings. But even then, they are not able to control that. So, loss of control. Same thing goes about internet. We know because of the use of internet, it could be for video games, it could be for social media, whatever. We know that if we go on spending time like this, it is going to impact our studies, it is going to impact our career, but we have no control over us. So all these things, negating consequences, we just make excuses, social isolation, because we want to spend more time. We start isolating ourselves and spend more time. This is slightly less in Indian culture. Again, culture to culture, there are differences. So this is slightly less in Indian culture, but it is one of the symptoms that some of the students do have. And in academic or occupational problems, you will invariably find that whether it is alcoholic or substance or internet, the addictions do impact our life, our day-to-day activities. We forget about our responsibilities at home. All those things happen. Health problems do happen. In case of internet addiction, because people are not able to sleep, there is a sleep deprivation, and because of that, there is a huge impact on overall health. So these are the symptoms. Again, what I'm trying to say, and the message that I'm trying to give is, there is no difference between the internet addiction and the substance addiction or the alcoholic addiction as far as the changes in the brain that happen. Okay. Now, how do those change happen? Let me explain that part to you. So this is a very important slide, and it tells you how the chemically brain changes. So first is, whenever we make use of internet, it gives some pleasure to us, because we may be watching some videos, entertainment, social media, videos, video games especially, or it could be even some of the students also, they do gambling and all that. So it gives you a kind of a high status, or a kick in the, or a feeling of a pleasure, and that is a dopamine shot in the brain. Okay, now that dopamine shot is responsible for making the changes. The reason being, our brain itself is supposed to secrete the dopamine and makes us happy, but because you are taking such an intense dose of dopamine, and it goes into the brain, and it gives you the pleasure, intense pleasure, the brain says, okay, there is something that is happening from outside. I think I should reduce my production of dopamine. And the brain compensates that by reducing the production of the dopamine. So you got a shot either through internet or through alcohol or through substance that has given an intense shot of dopamine in your brain. That is the first stage. The second stage is brain says, okay, if it is so much of dopamine, I should reduce my production. So it reduces its own dopamine. And then third, so when you are not using internet, or when you are not consuming alcohol or whatever, then because the brain has already shrunk its production, there is a deficiency of dopamine. And then you will feel restlessness. So because dopamine is responsible for us, for giving a pleasure to us, the moment its production is also reduced and there is nothing coming from outside, you will start feeling restlessness, and that is called as a withdrawal symptom. And then because of that restlessness, your brain will demand to you that I want this pleasure more, I want it. And then you will invariably go to the first stage. You will invariably consume either that what is responsible for the dopamine shot. That means in this case, internet. You will consume internet, and you will go on getting the dopamine shots, and this cycle will go on happening. And as a result, your own production of dopamine reduces, which gives you this withdrawal symptoms, and which will give you other symptoms. For example, urge to use, that is what it will give you. And it will make other changes also, like loss of control, because the demand is so high and it is so intense that you just do not have any control over it. And this is an addiction cycle, which is very dangerous because it makes changes in the brain. And this is this is how it is shown in the picture. The basal ganglia is the part of the brain, which is considered as a reward center. So this is where it gives you the feeling of the pleasure, or it produces its dopamine and gives you the pleasure. When you consume something, the intense dose of dopamine that I'm talking about, that happens here. Anyway, we'll not go into these details, but I just want to show you the prefrontal cortex, which also gets impacted because of the addiction. And that's why, whatever is required to be done to control our behavior and all that, we lose that control. And this is a part which is very responsible. I was telling you about this part which gets developed by the age of 22 or 24. And that's why we always say that, the students and adolescents in the age of 15 to 20, they are more vulnerable not only for psychological disorders, but even for the addictions in general, because this part of the prefrontal cortex is not developed fully till the age of 22 and 25. So that's how it is. And it has been researched that those who have risk-taking behavior, they are more prone for addictions, any kind of addictions for that matter. And then those who are very conscious, yes, they are also found to have more tendency of developing addictions. And some people might struggle with being too rigid at managing their own impulses and all that, so they are also found to have tendency of the addiction. Okay, so I'll just take a pause to see if there is any question. Otherwise, I'll just go to the next slide. But feel free to type the question. Maybe from time to time we can take on one or two questions. If not, we will not take a lot of questions. But I think taking one or two questions and having interaction with you will be the best mode of going forward. So, any questions so far on the changes that happen, the behavioral changes, anything that comes to your mind? We will see now how to get over that, but I just want to check if there is any question. I'm just checking both the chat boxes. Feel free to shoot out the question. Okay. Nothing at this moment, but feel free to ask any question that you may have. Now let's talk about how do we really get rid of it. And the reason I have shown this picture to you. Okay, there is a question: is there any way to control the dopamine shot? That means, in a way, you are asking: is there any way to control the internet addiction, Sahil? Yes, that is exactly what we are going to see in this slide. So I have a passion, and this is my special interest, you can say. I really like to see the pictures and videos of the scientists who have discovered something for the world. And I would like to know, or I would like to hear from them about what they have discovered. So the picture that you are seeing here on the left-hand side, she is Dr. Young. She is the one who has discovered internet addiction as a psychological disorder. That means she claimed that because of internet addiction, there are certain changes in human beings in the brain as well as their behavior. That is what she established for the first time. And then she developed the test, which is exactly what you have taken in our mind wellness test. So I listened to her video about, I just wanted to see what does she say about how to control internet addiction. I mean, there are hundreds of lectures on YouTube, but I wanted to see what she says because she is the one who has discovered internet addiction. So she talks about 2-3 things. One is, of course, the digital diet. and the second is a digital nutrition. So uh, what happens when we are about to reduce the weight? Let's say I want to reduce the weight. Then what will I do? I will do the diet. Correct. That is one thing. Secondly, what will I do? Whatever I am eating, I will try to eat the nutritious food. Correct. These are the two things we do. In internet addiction also, we are supposed to do same thing. This is what she says, the one who discovered internet addiction. She says, number one, digital diet. That means you have to restrict the use of your internet. You must have heard the word detoxification, and this is a word often used for alcoholic addiction, because there are rehabilitation centers for the drug and alcoholic addiction. These days even there are rehabilitation centers for cyber addictions also. So what do? They will do the detoxification for about a month. That means they will lock the person, or they will disconnect all the accesses to either internet or alcohol or whatever addiction the person has for about a month, because that is required for making the positive changes in the brain. So if you have been diagnosed, or if you, let's say, if there are symptoms of internet addiction, nothing to worry much. This is certainly reversible. What we need to do, however, is we need to either detoxification ourselves maybe for about a month, but that is not feasible, I know that. Or we can restrict the limit, we can restrict the use of internet for say 2 hours a day, or checking the phone once in 2 hours. That is how we can restrict it. So we are talking about digital diet. Second thing, digital nutrition. That means whatever internet we will use for, that must be for the nutritious purpose, for the good purpose, the knowledge purpose. If you watch the lectures of the spiritual gurus, motivational lectures, if you for example these kind of interviews of the scientists, that is not going to give you internet addiction. Let me clarify this point a little bit, because this is a question asked in almost every lecture, that we are using internet for our study. Okay, will that give us internet addiction? No. The reason being, you have seen the chain of the reactions that happen, the chemical reactions. The first and foremost is the chain. The chain starts with the dopamine shot. That means the activity which is giving you the high dose of dopamine in the brain is responsible for triggering and for the addiction. Correct. So your study is certainly not giving you dopamine shot. And same way, if you watch it for some knowledge purpose, the interviews, if you want to watch what is NASA is doing, and some quantum theory and all that, it is not going to give you dopamine shot. So don't worry about that part. What is important is whatever activity which is leading to that dopamine shot, could be video games, could be the social media, could be WhatsApp group, watching different shorts, and anything, movies or whatever. That is something that we must restrict for 2 hours or 3 hours, and we should replace whatever use we are doing with the some good watching of interviews and the knowledge purpose, which will certainly not lead to the dopamine shot. The third thing, so these are the two things, and I hope you are all clear about what needs to be done for internet addiction. It is easier to say, but it is very difficult to implement. I am fully aware of that. But guys, if you want to really save your brain to become the victim of this addiction, you will have to determine that I will only use internet for the pleasure purpose, only for the 2 hours or 3 hours of time. Okay, that is must. Third thing is group therapy, and in fact, what we are doing today, and this is thanks to your college. They have given the opportunity to me to talk to you, but this is exactly what is required. We should be listening to more of such lectures, and you try to go on YouTube, listen to various lectures by different psychiatrists and different people on how to overcome internet addiction. This is exactly what we are talking about, the group therapy. So you have an opportunity to ask question to me about the implementation of this digital diet and digital nutrition. That is group therapy. Third thing is about the support of group activity. That means you all can form your groups, maybe 6 people, 7 people, and I would say, you all decide together that gradually you will increase the time of your internet use from whatever it is to say 10% or 5% of what you are consuming today. This will require, so support group, the advantage is, when you all decide together, there is a kind of binding that we all have. Okay, so the way this can be done is, probably, you can form a WhatsApp group, and on that WhatsApp group, you can, give your messages saying, today I could do it, or I could not do it, whatever. So by sharing your thoughts on how difficult it is and what other person has done, you will get a kind of a motivation to do that. And this is how also you can fight the internet addiction. There are fourth and fifth reasons also. One could be, the internet addiction and the depression, anxiety, they again go hand in hand. So, and there are both cases. Both cases means because there is an internet addiction, it has led to anxiety and depression. Those cases are common. At the same time, because there is a depression and anxiety, underlying anxiety, in order to distress, in order to get rid of that anxiety, individuals go to internet for the pleasure. So both things are there. So we will have to, in case if that is the case, then we will have to find out the root causes of the anxiety, depression, loneliness, could be personality issues, whatever. If they are there, the person is not gelling well with the society and he's distressed. And because of the distress, he will look for the sources of the pleasure, and the internet and the other addictions, they are the best sources of the pleasure, and that is how he get into the cycle of addiction. So we will have to find out the root causes and get them eliminated with the help of counselors or psychiatrists. So there is no other reason, there is no other better way out than that. And you remember my advice to you last time, that if you are having symptoms of depression and anxiety, do not hesitate to take the help. It is absolutely fine and okay. It is just like cough and cold. And there are hundreds of ways by which you can get rid of this. In this particular age, the depression and anxiety is more because of what they call as a cognitive distraction. So there is a thought process which is not happening correctly. So there are incorrect way of thinking which needs a correction. Now this is very important, and I think initially we had planned one full lecture on this topic. So this leads to what is the best way of thinking. Many times we are in a situation that we are not able to change it. I mean, I meet a lot of students, and they do tell me their stories that my father has lost, his job, and there is financial crisis at home. Now, what can be done? What a poor student can do for that? He can't do anything for that, correct? So he will have to learn to think about that in a healthy manner. And there are ways, and we will see that in rational thinking. This part is also completed for third year and the B students. So if you happen to watch the video, which is there on your channel, the college channel, the last part of that lecture, you will see this topic covered, the rational thinking part. And if I get an opportunity to talk to you in the next lecture, we will cover that part too. So this is very important. You can do the search on Google or YouTube about the rational emotive behavioral thinking, REBT, and it will tell you how should you think correctly. And that plays a lot of role in depression, anxiety, especially at this age that you are in. Okay, so we will see that later. And the last part is some kind of a self control, playing some, there are some tricks and there are some brain training programs that happen. I know that there is no easy access to all that, but then you will have to somehow come out of this and control your mind for the addiction. So again, the activity for you is that I just want to know from any of you: are you making use of any app which helps you monitor your screen time? I just want to know from you. So, friends, again, make use of your chat box. Let me know which are those apps which are helping you to monitor and control your screen time. I think that's very important. I have one suggestion. I have gone through this app, which is a Google's Family Link. So if you go to this app, actually it is for the parents, but you can make use of this app to control your screen time. It will tell you how much screen time you have during the day. It will also tell you how much time you spent on each app, how much on WhatsApp, how much on Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And then you can put some controls over there. So that could be, and this is the information that you can share on the group, WhatsApp group, that you can form together to fight internet addiction. I think this will really be helpful. If you all come together and if you all decide, I am 100% sure you can bring down your internet use and come out of the internet addiction. So this is, either it could be a group or it could be even your partner. Let's say you have one good friend, share your numbers with each others, and that is how also you can make progress in coming out of internet addiction. Secondly, you can keep some goals either for a week or for a month. Say for example, I will check the phone only once in say 2-3 hours. Okay, 2-3 hours may be very ambitious initially, so I will say once in hour, once in 1 hour, and then from there you can do it once in 2 hours, and then 3 hours, and so on. I think that will really be very helpful, because if we don't take out our phone, there is no question of using the internet. Yeah, the goals for weekly reduction and all that is very, very helpful. Yes, and last thing is share your success with the others. Say, so this gives you kind of a binding, that let's say you announce to your friends that, guys, I reduce my screen time from 6 hours to 2 hours. Okay, you announce to everyone. The advantage of that is it gives you the binding that you have to stick to the 2 hours max in during the day, because everybody is watching you. So the moment you enter into the 3 hours, you know that, okay, I have already announced to them, and now what I'm doing, I'm just exceeding my own limits. That will probably give you further more controls on the internet use. So I think this is all I wanted to talk about internet addiction. We still have 5 minutes of time. I just want to, before I go to the next session, which is even more interesting, which is all about making use of psychological testing for your learning process. What is the best way of learning? And we are going to see the memory and all those interesting topics. But before that, let's check once, are there any questions about internet addiction, uh, or is there how to control your addiction, how to overcome that? Is there any question from you, friends? Again, please make use of your there is a question. I don't know whether it is just now. Sir, how to reduce the addiction of checking mobile in every 5 to 10 minutes? Yes, you are right, absolutely. So I think this will only require the self discipline and self control. There is no other way, because finally the cell phone is in your pocket, and nobody can stop you to take that phone out. There is no trick other than what I mentioned to you, that every day you published your score to everyone. Okay, the forming the group is the best tactics, guys. Please do that. You form a small group of your friends close to you, and with them, let's be open, let's be very transparent, that today I checked my phone almost 55 times in the day. I'm sure everybody's readings will be something like that, so don't worry about it. From there, let's make a progress. go on publishing how you reduce from 52 to 45, 45 to 30, 30 to 24. 24 is the first milestone. Celebrate that. Give some party or take some party from your friends, or you decide whoever will, whoever will achieve this milestone, first in the group. I think he should be given treat by everyone else. Okay, something like that. This will, make it will be a fun, and at the same time it will give you a constant motivation for controlling your internet use and checking the mobile. Okay, let me check any other group whether there is any. Yeah, digital well-being. Yes, Akshada. Digital well-being is also another app which is very popular, and I think, if I mistake not, it is a part of Android or something. But yes, digital well-being word. I mean, I have used this. I have heard this name, and it is from Google. If I mistake not, it is a very useful app. Correct. Absolutely correct. Any other question regarding internet addiction? Uh, I am not seeing any questions, so I am assuming that there are no more questions, and so we will just go to the next topic. But before that, I will just touch upon one topic, the thought correction part that I talked about. So it is very important, that we learn how to think. Unfortunately, in our schools and colleges, nowhere we are taught how to think about it. Okay, how do we think? That part is not taught anywhere. But it is a very important life skill, because you, for example, we will at this age, you all are very very conscious about your own image. Many people have depression and anxiety because of their self image. That means we are thinking about ourselves, how do I look? uh, and some people think that, okay, I'm looking very fat. They are unnecessarily too much conscious about how do they look, and what is their image in the society and their circle, and that gives a lot of anxiety to them. This is something that needs a thought correction. Because I mean, the typical way of counseling those students is, we show them the pictures of Lata Mangeshkar, uh, Dr. Abdul Kalam, and by looking at them, we feel great. We feel great about them. But our conventional, I would say, criterias. I'm saying conventional criterias of looking beautiful and handsome and all that. They may not be applying to many people around us, and we really need to identify those people. But they are still great people, and we really admire their achievements, and so people are known for their achievements and not really the physical look. That is what, so we can always do. I know this is your age where you are too much conscious about how do you look and all that, and you can do whatever best you can. But in everything, and again, this also comes in that thinking correction. In every scenario that you are in, you need to draw a boundary of what is in your control and what is beyond your control. And you should really be focusing all the while on what is in your control. So I think a lot of good practices, and I hope we really get an opportunity to talk about all those things in the next session. Okay, for the time being, now I'm just moving to the next session, which is about learning capabilities. And I think this is, again, as I mentioned, something that is close to your careers. And since you are all in your stage of developing your career, I think this will be very helpful to you. Okay, just give me a minute to share my screen. This is one Google Meet I've done, and now let me go to the other one. Share my screen. Okay, fine. So you are able to see the screen also. Okay, so I think this is very familiar. The picture on the right hand side, the moment you come to 10th and 12th standard, suddenly you will find your parents getting, behind you on, how are you learning? How are you doing? Are you understanding what is taught in the schools and colleges? Then they will get you admitted to one of the best class around. uh, they will start probably giving you, the almonds and all that. So this is a typical Indian scenario, when, because we are are is a very competitive world. I mean, they are not at the fault. uh, because of that, the students get a lot of pressure from all sides the moment they come to 11th and 12th standard, and then to engineering and all that. uh, so the root cause here, if you think that you are not performing to your potential, you are not able to grasp and learn and show your academic performance and marks to your true potential, I think instead of things from outside, like getting admitted to the best class, Baiju, and all that, what we should be focusing on is inside us. So these are the four factors which will drive your new learning. And when I'm saying new learning, is new knowledge. You have come for engineering, let's say some of the students are for artificial intelligence. This is a new topic, new field that you are learning. Those who are in the first year of engineering, they started learning mechanical engineering and drawings and all that. So what dictates and what drives that learning, how much you are able to understand, how much you are able to learn, these are the four things. One is your mind wellness, and I think we have talked enough in the previous lecture, so I'm not going to repeat anything about that. If your mind is not sound, all the efforts that your parents and teachers and everybody is putting on you, that will go to the drain. So you have to take care of your mind wellness. You must ensure that your mind is healthy and sound. If there are any symptoms of disorder, be it internet addiction, be it depression, anxiety, or any disorder for that matter, and the mind wellness test that you have taken will tell you which symptoms are they. You must work towards getting rid of that, because if your mind is not sound, it is not going to help you in learning anything. Second is your prior knowledge. You know that, the basic concepts we talk about. Somebody is going to teach you, say electronics, okay, and they will talk about the communications and the frequency modulation and those kind of concepts. But if you are not clear with the very basic concepts of electronics, okay, uh, then you are not going to absorb them. That's why the prior knowledge also is important. I mean, this is again not in our topic today, because this comes with your prior learning over the years. So if you find that your basic concepts are not clear in certain field, and which is restricting your new learning capability, then of course you need to somehow work on that, sit on that and get it clarified. But these two are very important. The third thing is learning abilities. Now these are the abilities of your brain. These are the abilities which come under the psychology domain. And what are they? Your memory function, your short term memory, your long term memory, your working memory, your processing speed, your problem solving capability. These are the qualities of your brain. They will drive your new learning for sure. Okay, and we will focus on this for today's lecture. And the next is the motivation. I mean, you may have the best IQ in the world, but if there is no motivation to learn, okay, then nothing will go inside your brain. So this is also very very important. And you in our mind wellness test, I had included the motivation to learn. So you must be having the score of your motivation. If you are not having enough motivation, then probably we'll see in the next lecture, whether what needs to be done to motivate yourself. But some of the simple tricks are like, I was talking about watching the videos of the great scientists, watching the videos of those who have discovered the phenomena that you are learning. Very motivating. Those people are different. uh, if you can get an opportunity to shake the hands with those kind of people, again, nothing like it. Visit National Chemical Laboratory in the in Pune, or visit other laboratories, national laboratories. Those scientists, ISRO scientists, uh, they are great people. Even by shaking hands, you will feel a lot more motivated to learn. So these are the ways. So I mean, I've done some special research on motivation. So I know that what matters is, one is intrinsic motivation. Some students have very intrinsic passion about the subject that they are learning, but in India that is not the case, because we come to engineering because of the compulsion many times. And unfortunately, the situation in India is such that we get good salaries and good jobs if you do engineering and then probably go to IT. This is what is the convention is, and because of that convention, many people come to learn engineering. So intrinsic motivation may or may not be there, but you will have to develop that. And then second is, you should be understanding the importance of what you are learning. And many times, I go to colleges and give the lectures, and the teachers and the staff faculty ask me this question very often: "Ki, how do we really motivate students? We try hard, but they are not taking enough interest in learning. What do we need to do that?" And my answer to that is, they have not understood the value of the learning. And it has been proved scientifically that the motivation depends upon the value the person is learning, the value the person is perceiving in learning. I'm sorry for that. So if students are not perceiving the value of what they are learning, uh, nothing will they will not get motivated enough. So they should dream. Ideally, they should dream. For example, they should dream of, I becoming a top executive in a company like Google. Okay, I should really dream for that. If I have that aspiration, I will automatically start learning. I will automatically start taking interest in learning. Guys, thermodynamics and quantum mechanics and mechanics and all that. I mean, these subjects, not that everyone will like. They are boring. Many students will feel they are boring. I also feel I did PhD in physics, but I strongly feel that thermodynamics is a very boring subject. Quantum mechanics is a very boring subject. I did my PhD in solid state physics. Okay, uh, so you will not necessarily feel interest in a given topic, but what will still make you learn that will be the motivation. And that motivation is nothing but the dreams and the aspirations that I have. So internally, my brain knows that unless and I learn this boring subject and do a good scoring in that, I am not able to achieve that my aspiration. Then it will work. It will pay attention to even the boring topic and lecture and all that. Okay, that is enough about the motivation. Now let's go to our next topic. How do we learn? So what you are seeing here, all this picture inside it is inside our brain, and I'll explain that one by one. And these two circles that you are seeing, the motivation and the mind wellness, these are kind of external, you can say, or you can consider them as a filters around the brain, the filters. So if the motivation is high, the information that goes into the brain will be very high. Okay, and if the motivation is less, that means you can imagine that like a thick filter, nothing will go inside. Similarly, mind wellness, we already talked about it. If the mind wellness is not there, if the mind is not sound, nothing will go inside, everything will be outside. So there is no question of your brain capability. The brain capability will come into picture only when these two circles are taken care of. So we have talked already about them. I'm not going to repeat anymore. Please take care of them and make sure that there is enough flow goes inside your brain. Now let us see, how do we convert information that is coming inside the brain to a knowledge that we can use for our marks, for our degrees, for professional performance and all that. So let's assume that these two are taken care and the information comes in. Then there are 7 important processes. They are listed down here, which are inside our brain. One is attention. That means while I may be interested, but at that point of time, I am distracted to outside window. Let's say something is going on there and I'm distracted. I'm not paying attention. That means again, the information will not go further. So attention is very important. And we will have to learn how to focus on the information despite of the distractions around us. That is the quality of the brain. This is also quality of brain. Ability to focus on something which is of your interest despite the distraction. Okay, that's one. And which is what we are going to see, and we are also going to measure for ourselves. Okay, processing speed. This is like your CPU speed. You may have the information coming in and you have to convert that into the knowledge. With what processing speed you are churning it around, that is processing speed. Then the working memory. The information comes in, either you watch the video, your teacher is telling you, you listen to something that is the source of information, or you are reading a book. Whichever way it comes inside, then it is held in your working memory for some time. Okay, and then you are processing that information inside your memory, and that this is a very important function, which is very, very important for our ability to learn, I would say. And then there is a short-term memory, there is a long-term memory. So the information is held in short-term memory, then it goes to the working memory, where again it is held for some time and it is processed. So for example, I was talking about the attention and processing speed 2 minutes before. Now you have held that information inside your brain, and we are going to the list item number 3, item number 4, 5, 6. So while we are going to 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 is held in our brain. Okay, and we are comparing that also. Okay, is this something to do with attention, processing speed and all that? So this is the cycle of the processes which runs continuously inside our brain. There is a visual processing, logic and reasoning is very important step of logic and reasoning. Your ability to develop the logic and reasoning. For example, you are developing a computer program, so you will develop a logic for achieving. If I tell you find out the minimum number in the series of 10, I'm just taking a very, very, very simple example. So if you are supposed to find out the minimum number among the 10 numbers, you will have to develop some logic, correct? How do I achieve that? So you may take the number, the first number, compare with the second, then third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then see which is minimum. The moment you come across another number which is lower than what you have held, the first number, you will replace that number and start comparing that with the others. I'm just talking about some logic and reasoning. This is the ability, and this is somehow considered as an intelligence. Okay, and we will see that how does it play the role, and so on. So what I want to tell you guys is, this is like a cycle of the processes. Okay, and we will have to really, this runs like these are like wheels, and they all run together to churn the information that comes in, and finally it is converted into knowledge, which is stored in our long-term memory, and then that is used later on in the examinations for the professional job that you may be doing, and so on. Okay, so the another thing that I want to tell you about this is measuring this. So if you are facing learning difficulties, okay, or you want to always excel, in whatever you are doing, so you may be having even good score, but you want to score even better than that. This is a competitive word. Then one of the approach should be check all these processes inside our brain, and are they fine? Are they running smoothly? Are there any hot spots in these processes? And there are cases. Okay, so measuring IQ, the intelligent coefficient, is not the solution, because that's the old fashion. Measuring IQ is a old fashion. These days, IQ is not measured because it only measures one aspect of your intelligence. The modern techniques and the modern research tells that all these processes are important for you to learn a new information, and you ideally should measure all of them and find out where is a hotspot, what is not going well, or where is scope for you to improve further. Okay, and this is exactly what we are going to do in today's lecture. And there is a test also, a small test, which will give you the glimpse of how they can be measured. Okay, but let us understand first of all what are those processes. And how should they be measured and all that. So the first one we talked about is attention span. It is the ability of our brain to focus on selective areas, thing that you want to focus. The picture is very representative. You must have done this n number of times probably, and when you are doing this, you are focusing on the needle and the thread, and there may be a lot of noise around, but when you do that, you have to focus on it. So this is that attention span or attention capability. And there is another quality which is very important, which is associated with attention span, and it is an inhibition control. That means your ability to suppress unwanted thoughts, suppress any distractions which are around you, could be your own emotions, could be your own interest. Uh, this is a World Cup, days. World Cup is going on. Tomorrow, let's say Sunday, tomorrow is India New Zealand match. And Monday, you have a very important test. Okay. So the question is, are you going to spend 6 hours, 7 hours in watching that match, or you will keep control on your mind, probably, see the highlights later, and, focus on your study? That is inhibition control. Your ability to suppress your unwanted thoughts, your ability to discipline yourself is inhibition control. And this is a brain quality. It can be measured, and we are going to measure that today with a very interesting kind of a game, literally, a digital game, which I'm going to share with all of you. So it does measure. This is a quality which should be measured. And if we are not good at it, then we should train our brain to do a better inhibition control. So this is how it is. I will show you I will show you this game, and I'm going to share you the link. Don't worry. Don't just pay the attention right now to this game. So this is a game where we are supposed to press the space bar. Okay. For any number that will be displayed, but we are not supposed to press the space bar if there is a 3 number. Okay, and you can just tell me when I'm supposed to press the space bar and when I'm not supposed to press the space bar. I am supposed to press space bar every time almost, but only occasionally there will be a 3 number, and at that time I am not supposed to press the space bar. Correct? So let us start. Let us begin. You can tell me when I'm not supposed to press the space bar. Okay, so 5, that means I'm supposed to press the space bar. 3, I will not. 7, I made a mistake. Okay, so this is how it is. This is a game. Okay, it was a 3 and I pressed the space bar. I made a mistake. So I am not paying full attention to that. Correct? Now I was supposed to press space. Okay, 7, 4, pressing space bar. 1, 6, 8. Suddenly there will be 3 and I'm not supposed to press the space bar, but with the habit probably I will do it, and that is called as an inhibition control. Anyway, so what is more, I think you could not probably, sorry for this, I think you could not be watching, you were able to see that, or no, you were not able to see the game. Doesn't matter. Really sorry for that. I thought it is getting displayed on your screen, but it was not. But we will play this ourselves. Okay, we have the link and that will do it. So we just move further for the time being, and there are other kind of games and all that. So this we can do ourselves. Okay, let's see this. You can remember these 5 words. Now we are talking about short-term memory. You can remember these 5 words. I'll give you a minute. You can even do the rehearsal of these 5 words: I, sari, temple, rose, and blue. Okay, and then we will go further, and maybe later on I will ask you these 5 words, and you are supposed to tell me that. So short-term memory, let's understand a bit about this. It is the ability to hold small amount of information for short time. Okay, sensory memory holds it for about 4 seconds. Now, so each of our sensory memory, that means eye, or it could be our touch, or it could be ears. So these are the senses, and there is some sensory memory which holds the information for about 4 seconds. Then it passes on to the short term memory, and the short term memory will hold it further. For example, numbers. If I give you the random numbers, say 9, 7, 2, 5, you will be able to hold 7 digits approximately, plus minus 2. Some people will hold 5 digits, some people will hold 7 digits, some people will hold 9 digits for about some time, 18 seconds or so, which is the function of short term memory. Now this plays a very important role because say when your teacher is telling you something, you hold the information of her first sentence, then you listen to the second sentence, and you correlate the information of the second sentence to the first sentence. But for correlating that, you will have to hold the information of the first sentence for some time. This is very important, and this is exactly what we will see in our test. The third thing is working memory, and as I was telling you, very very important for our ability to learn, because in this is like a CPU of the PC or laptop or your cell phone, the central processing unit. So it takes the information, it processes it. Okay, it can manipulate the information, and it contributes to our intelligence, and we should know whether our working memory is performing correctly or not. And it has various abilities. It has a ability to even spatial information and so on. So that's the third aspect of our brain function. The next is a long-term memory, and this is where we hold the information for a very long time. Now there is a process by which the information in the short-term memory is passed on to long-term memory. But imagine that not every piece of information that comes to our short-term memory goes to long-term memory. There are only few things which go to the long-term memory. Okay, and long-term memory has again some different types of information. For example, implicit memory and explicit memory. All of you must have watched the movies, and this is a very popular story that Bollywood has. In anyone remembers any movie name in which the actor or actresses, mostly actresses, they come across some accident. I remember this movie, where Aishwarya Rai, she came across some accident and she has a memory loss. Okay, now has anybody wondered that whenever such memory loss happens, why there is always that they forget about the persons, their town, their name, and all that. But they will not forget to talk, how to talk. They will not forget about the language. They are able to speak, correct? But they are able to tell that I don't remember anything. They are not able to, they don't forget how to drive a car, for that matter. They can drive the car, but they forget the names of the people related to them. They forget their own name. Has anyone thought, why does this happen? I was definitely wondering about that, and I got the answer when I started learning about the memory. So the answer is there are two types of Gajani. Yes, Ranjit, excellent. Short. So in Gajani, there was a loss of memory for for a complete loss of memory. So he could only remember for last 20 minutes, something like that. So here what we are discussing about is the person who has a memory loss because of the accident, and there is a long-term memory loss. But mind you, there are two types of long-term memories. One is implicit, which is about the processes. That means how do we drive the car, the grammar of the language, and all that, how to eat, everything. We don't normally there is no such loss of memory when in the movies they are showing that there is a memory loss. That loss is of explicit memory, and that explicit memory is about uh, what the semantic memory, basically. The name of the town, name of the person, and all that, the terms that are used, words, all the words. So this is implicit memory, is all about how to do the things. And so the how to do the things usually is not forgotten, but in the memory losses, usually what you forget is your explicit memory, which is again episodic memory. That means the entire video of your childhood, some of the incidences that happened, especially when you are emotionally attached to certain incidences. For example, I still remember the incidents of I getting the reward in my school. Okay, I really remember that because it has gone deep into my memory, and it is a part of my episodic memory. I don't remember on that day how I went to school. I mean, whether I went by bicycle or auto rickshaw, I don't remember that. But I remember the incidents of me going on the stage. I remember the person who gave the reward to me and everything. I'm sure you all will have such memories of your childhood, of even past days. So those episodes to which we are emotionally attached, they are stored in the long term memory. Okay, and they become part of our explicit memory. And then the last part, which is what we are using in all our competitive examinations, and the examinations of the engineering, we make use of this semantic memory a lot. And that's why it is very important to focus on that. The mantra for keeping your memory, and I must tell you, I did the search, a lot of search on whether there are medicines. There are no medicines to improve your memory if you are healthy. I mean, if there is a memory loss of person by accident or Alzheimer or something like that, then there are medicines to recover as much as possible. But if you are a healthy person and if there is a normal memory, there are no medicines. So don't be victim of those advertisements, which are promising you to improve your memory. If you take enough sleep, sleep is extremely important, and that's why this goes back to our internet addiction. Because of internet addiction and our habits, suppose if we are not having sound sleep of 8 to 9 hours, it will impact your memory for sure. You must be having healthy lifestyle, you must be eating well. So all those healthy lifestyles, they will have a good impact on your semantic memory. So this is all about the long term memory. Further, I just want to talk about 1 minute, the next topic about the. Okay, now let me. I told you about 5 words, correct? I just want your answers now. What were those 5 words? Can somebody type in the chat box? Let me. This is a memory test. We are going to have another memory test. But can someone type those 5 names? And I hope you had not saved them. Yeah, Apurva is the one who has immediately told I, Sari, Temple, Rose, and Blue. Yes, correct. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Apurva. And I see that in the other chat box, no one is there. Okay, fine. So we will see. There are some tricks also. Again, there are different functions of our brain. One is, so what Apurva has done just now is recalling. That means some of the information was given and you just recalled from your long-term memory. The another function is recognize. So for example, here I give you 15 names, and from those 15 names, you are supposed to recognize which were those words. Okay, rose, blue, sari, and all that. So that this is called as a recognition. Recognize. Our multiple choice questions are something like this. No, they will tell you to recognize, whereas whereas the subjective kind of questions that are, they will ask you to recall the information. So that's the difference between both of them. And now let us come to our test, which is a 15 minutes interesting test, which will test all these functions, short-term memory, long-term memory, working memory, and many more things, the attention span and inhibition control. So these are the qualities of our brain. We have seen that, and this is a test. You can go on this website, www.psychologytestingforall.com, and you will see something like here. So here you can see memory test. Okay, when you go on that website, you will see memory test. Click on that, and that will take you to the memory test, which will be 15 minutes test. Calm and quietly, and choose a place where no one will come in front of you, no one will distract you, because it needs a bit of attention. And take it leisurely, don't be conscious, too much conscious. Again, I am telling you, these results will not be shared with the colleges. This is your test, digital test. You will see the results on the screen. So don't you will not get any report. And again, I can promise you that information will remain confidential. In fact, you can give this test as many times as possible. Today you can give your first attempt, and I know not that everyone will be in a position to take the test, because you may be at a crowded place, or you may be, somebody may be in front of you. If he or she will distract you, it will impact your results. So give one try, sincere try, and take this test again later on, maybe later on after this lecture, come and quietly. But this will give you the glimpse of how the testing, psychological testing, help you measure the short-term memory, the long-term memory, the attention span, and the working memory, and also the processing speed of your memory function. So it is 17:57. So it's almost like 6 o'clock. I will give you 15 minutes, and then we will come back, and then we'll talk about how to interpret, how to improve the memory function, and so on. Okay. So next 15 minutes, uh, go to anyone facing the problem. I will also pass on the link to uh, to to the coordinators, and they will also share in your WhatsApp group. So you can either make use of that, or you can make use of this psychologytestingforall.com and go to memory test on the left hand side menu. I'm just copy pasting. I think we can get started. I hope you have finished the test. Uh, Anyone who has not done it, you can, at least in the Google Meet, just want to know whether the 15 minutes time which was given to you was sufficient or you need some few more minutes. Okay, so I think we can get started. And if you are still not able to complete the test, maybe after 10 minutes, when we will be done with this session, you can continue on that. Okay, so for example, you have finished Stroop test or an in-back test. Just don't enter into the next test, take a pause, attend to this session. Once we complete, you can resume on that. It's not a problem. And at the end of the test, you will get a consolidated report. So it will tell you about the short-term memory, how many words you could recognize, and these words were not related to each other. If you remember that, I think your score should be more than 6. I would imagine, which is good. Then we come to the next test, which was digit span test. Okay. Now there is a very famous and popular framework of intelligence measurement, and that is called as a Wechsler test. I mean, so far what test you have given is just for 15 minutes. But if you look at the Wechsler test, which runs for almost 2.5 hours, so it measures each and every aspect of your memory function, intelligence, linguistic ability, and all that. What we have tried to do is, we have tried to get the extract of that, the most concise test that we have formed. And this piece of test only the memory function, whereas there is one more test which I will give it to you for taking later on. You need not take now, right now. So in the memory test, we first saw the short memory test, and then we entered into the digit span test, which tests your, again, short-term memory, like how many digits you are able to remember after a few seconds. So I think if I just look at the average of your age, the adolescents, it should be around 7 plus minus 2. Okay, that means you should be able to remember five numbers at least. The sequence of 5 numbers minimum. 6, 7 is again average. 8, 9 is very good. But for some reason, if you are not able to remember more than 5, or if your score is not more than 5, don't be upset, because it depends on your situation, particularly on that instance. It could be like, if there is some anxiety, if you are not well, if there are a lot of distractions around, or if you are too much conscious about the taking the test. First time it happens. That's why I had given the trials to you. But still sometimes people still get conscious. So if that could be the reason for you not getting the minimum score of 5, and in that case, I would advise you to take the test again later on, leisurely. I'm sure you will meet the criteria of 5 and more, but if you are still not able to do that, then you can consult some experts. Okay, these are all most scientific tests, as I mentioned to you. Then later on, you were asked to reverse the number. You remember that you were shown some numbers, and you were asked to reverse the numbers in your mind and enter there. So that is measuring the working memory of your brain. So you are manipulating the information and entering into it. And your speed is also important. For all these tests, for all your responses, your processing speed was also measured by the test. Okay. So that becomes the next test, which is reverse test. And the third test was sequencing the numbers. That means the numbers were told to you, and you were supposed to order them in the ascending order and enter into it. So again, you have made use of your working memory, and if this was done for different lengths, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So more is the length that you are able to do successfully, better is your working memory. Okay, so that's the second one. Third one was the Stroop test, and this was a test of inhibition control and attention. We talked about it, correct? So you were shown some words, red, green, blue, and yellow, but the printing was in different color. So, what you were supposed to focus on was the printing of the color and not the meaning of the word. So that is what exactly the inhibition control is. You are supposed to focus on something that you want to pay for attention to, and you want to suppress the information that is undesired to you. So that was measuring the inhibition control, and it was also measuring the processing speed. And the fourth test was, I think, slightly difficult, which was in-back test. So you were shown some numbers, and you were at any point of time you were supposed to keep 3 numbers. That means, suppose I am shown letters. They were letters, correct? So I am shown, say, B and C, and now I am shown D. That means in my mind, the map, visually, I am seeing at B, the last but two, then C, last but one, and D, which was my current letter. So I am supposed to compare D with B. So if D is same as B, I am supposed to press some button. And this was constantly happening. So in the next one, the C will become your N minus 2 or two letters back, and the D will become your 1 letter back, and so on. I hope you have understood that particular test. It is slightly difficult, but with practice, I'm sure you will be able to give it. If you have not done good enough in the first attempt, don't worry, give it that later on again, calm and quietly, and by this time you have understood how to give the test. So I hope you will be able to do that better. So all these are measuring, and long-term memory also. So it approximately after 15 minutes you were asked to recall those 5-10 words which were shown to you: the car, king, cake, and so on. Okay, I think I hope you have enjoyed the test, and I look forward for more such tests and passing on to you. There is one more test I'm going to give, but I'm towards the end of this session. Okay, now let's look at the obvious question that will come to your mind is, how do we improve our memory? And this is required for all our studies. So you will have to understand few things about the memory. First and foremost, we already talked about it, is a sleep. Sleep plays a very major role in memory, because that is a time when our brain converts the information from one part of memory to the other part of memory. So all the memory management that happens inside our brain happens in the night. Okay, this is like those servers, they usually at the 12 o'clock in the night, they will do some backups and upgrades and all that, because that's the time when the whole world is sleeping. So sleeping is extremely important. You must have proper sleep. These days there are a lot of smart watches which will monitor your sleep and the oxygen level and all that, but you must make sure that sleep is good. I'll not talk much about it. You find out what are the best ways to improve your sleep. uh, but again, the internet addiction and those things that we talked about, they are also harmful for your working memory and all that. The mind wellness, again and again, I'm talking about, if the mind is not sound, your memory will not be sound. You remember your anxiety. For example, many students complain that they go to the exam and they just go blank. They don't remember anything. Does it mean that their memory is not good? No, their memory is good, but at that time their memory function crashes completely. And that happened because of the anxiety, because of the mind wellness. They are not in a good mind of a good state of mind. Their memory function will not perform. Third is, of course, the addiction parts that we talked about. They are known. These are tobacco and alcohol, and even the substances like drugs. These are the chemicals that you are taking into the body. So they are bound to act on it. They are bound to make harm to your body. And it was found through research and scientific experiments that these, the chemicals involved in tobacco, alcohol, and the drugs, they severely impact your brain function and especially the memory function. You will not be surprised, if you see the people who take, these are shown in movies. I have not met a lot of people, who taking substances, but these are shown in movies, that those people who take those substances, they are clueless. They just are not in their conscious. They don't remember anything. So their brain function is completely collapsed. So keep yourself away from all these addictions. uh, Cyber addiction, we already talked about it, because it is making changes in the brain. It will impact your memory function. And the fourth is, last is, of course, trauma or injury. And we have seen this enough in Bollywood movies. People getting impacted because of some accidents. Okay, what are the ways to improve? One is, of course, the meditation. They say that in the meditation state, especially, what you are doing is you are reducing your thoughts. You're trying to reduce your thoughts. And that is a state when, if you remember, if you remember your the picture that I had shown, the parts of the brain. Let me try to search that picture. So in that particular part of the brain, is completely at rest. That is what I think that we had shown in the other lecture. So that part, this part, if I show you this one, the one at the root, this is called as amygdala. So this is at the rest when you are doing the meditation, and this will not send any signals, and this will not keep your brain constantly on alert and all that. So this is very important, that you give rest to the brain. I mean, there are I know there are a lot of spirituals and other meanings and religious meanings to the meditation, but from psychology perspective, basically you are giving rest to some of the important parts of your brain, and that improves your overall function of the brain. There are some tricks also. Like, for example, I had asked you to remember those 5 words in the in this presentation, and those were, anyone remembers them? Those 5 words. So this is another test of memory, but I am showing them here. It was like I, then blue, then temple, then rose, and sari. Okay, those were the 4 words. So the trick to remember these words which are not related, which you are not emotionally attached to, are, you create a picture out of those words. Okay, try to create some picture, and and insist on that, and then try to remember this visually. This will be easier for you to remember later on. So these are some of the tricks that are used. For example, you were asked to remember the length of the numbers in digit span test. You were asked to remember the numbers. As you go to 7, 8, and 9, it becomes more and more difficult. So there also there is a trick. If you split the number into the bytes of 3, that means 319, 527, 851. It will be easier for you to remember the entire stream of 9 numbers rather than splitting them into the 3 into 3. So these are the tricks that you can learn. I think a lot of material is available on YouTube, so you can go through that. Rehearsing and relearning is extremely important for memorizing, and I hope this could be useful for your studies. So look at this picture. So what happens is typically when you learn something, you lose that through your memory in few days. Typically it is 3 days time. So let's say you have learned something. Usually you will forget that in 3 days. So the best idea is to, after about a day or two, you again do some rehearsing or relearning that. That will take you to more days, almost like 7 days. Can you see this graph? These are all done through scientific experiments. A lot of research has gone into this. So that means if I just learn something now and try to remember when my exam is there after about a month, the chances are very less that you will be able to remember it very well. Or the other option is you learn something and after about 1.5 days, you again remember that or do some rehearsal or relearn it. That will give you a life of few more days. And again, after 3 days, if you do it, even it will give you a much longer life. Now, you may tell me, or you may ask me, if I have to learn something and then, relearn that after about 1.5 days and again after 3 days, how much of time I am going to spend on that? And then how do I learn the other things? I have to learn many more things. So here the trick is, when you do the learning first time, you create a short a short framework of that learning. That means, let's say if there is a process, then I will just take the important terms that I'm supposed to remember. And if there is a sequence of processes, I will just draw a picture which I can relearn. So next time I'm relearning it or doing the rehearsal, I will not need the entire 1 hour for learning. I will just look at that picture, look at the process chart, look at those terms, and that will finish my relearning, which will hardly take a minute or two. So that's the art of relearning and rehearsal. So guys, this is a very powerful technique for remembering something. So if you are taught something, make this part of your studies and practices. I hope this will help you remembering the things at the time of examination. Brain training is also, is one of the tactics too. This is just like we going to the gyms, okay, and training our muscles, and then they can take more weight and they are more flexible and so on. So same way, you can do the brain training. In fact, this test which I have given to you is a kind of brain training itself. If you just do it twice, thrice, 4 times, it's a training. Of course, I need to give you many more such exercises, which is not done right now, but you can always find out the resources on the internet for the brain training. There are some free brain training exercises, and they will be all like playing the games. The kind of test that you have given, they will be very similar. So I think with that, we are more or less coming to the end of the session, and I know we are almost 5 minutes more than what we are. So I just want to pass on this test to you and end this session. I will not recommend to take this test immediately now because you must be tired and exhausted. So give some rest to your brain, take a break. Maybe after 2 hours, 3 hours, you can do this in the night. And I know many of you are fresh in the night. Your brain works better in the night than daytime. So you can, this is a test of intelligence, okay? The fluid intelligence it is called as. It is also testing your spatial intelligence. Remember that there are multiple intelligences, and the old IQ test, which everyone was taking, that was only measuring one aspect of it, whereas this is measuring 2 aspects, and there are many more aspects, and we will see if we get chance I will pass on those links to you later on. I will also update those links on the web page that you visited, the psychologytestingforall.com. Before you take this test, again, few do's and do nots and some important messages. Again, I'm telling you and assuring you that this test you can take without any fear, without any consciousness. The results will not be shared with anyone. It is only you and the test. Okay, nobody else. This is automated, computerized solution. As soon as you finish the test, you will get the report on your mailbox. Secondly, do it honestly. Don't ask any friend to solve the question for you. There are some questions, interesting questions, which will need you to solve the problems, because this test is itself of the problem solving. But don't take anybody's help, because that will not test your ability of solving the problems. See, you want to measure your own ability of solving problems. So there is no point in asking your friend to solve the problem for you. So don't ask anyone else. The results are only with you, and you can give this test again and again. There are similar tests on the website, and there are other tests also that you can take later on. Results will not have any impact on your ranks, marks, grades. There is no question, because results are not going to be shared with the college. So don't worry about that. This is not mandatory. Okay, I don't want to force anyone to take the test. This is absolutely voluntary. I have told you the importance of the test. I have given you the background of the test. If you still don't feel comfortable taking the test, please don't take it. If you take it voluntarily and happily. Uh, and these tests will benefit you for developing your career, because we are basically trying to see how is your brain is functioning, about the problem solving, the memory, and all that. So if you, and you again here also, if you get lesser marks, don't worry much. You just need to practice more. So there is a notion, and a lot of debate goes on whether the intelligence is by birth or it can be improved. I am of the opinion that yes, to some extent it is by birth, but I am of the opinion that with the brain trainings and more practices and exposures, our intelligence and problem solving capability and even memory can be increased to some extent, at least to the extent of 15 to 25%. It can be increased. I am of this opinion. So don't worry much, even if you get lesser score. It again depends on your mood on the given day. There are many factors, and so you will have to take the results with a pinch of salt. And I hope you all do best in the test. So again, go to that website later on, and you will find similar picture there and similar uh, test over there. This time you have to go to the test of intelligence page. This is the page it looks like. When you go to the test of intelligence, these 4 tests are given here. You have already taken memory test. You need to take this test, fluid intelligence test and spatial intelligence test. Mind wellness test, those who have not taken yet, they can take that test too. But again, you can take some breaks in between. Don't do it one by one and immediately one after other. You can do it leisurely as and when you want. But I have just shared the link with you, so that this is also given in your YouTube link. This is also given in your WhatsApp message, which was shared with you just now for memory test. So I hope you can make use of this and make your brain's learning abilities to the best that you can make it. Uh, Let me just give you 2 minutes for asking the question. We are almost done. I'm done with my session, but I just want you to feel free to ask any question that you may have. We don't have much time. We'll just take 1 or 2 questions. But if there are questions, I'll be most happy to answer them. So questions, please. Okay, and if there are no questions, then I assume you have all understood it very well. So
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yes.
I'm Apurva Bijwe from AML department. I would like to convey my thanks to Nagesh Rajopadhye sir from all the staff members and students of Modern College of Engineering for
Yes.
such a valuable words and for your precious time. I would like to say thanks to Principal Ma'am, Vice Principals, HODs of all the departments, and a very special thanks to organizers of the session. At last but not least, I would like to say thanks to all the students for attendance and their participation in activity. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Apurva has given thanks to me, so thanks for that. I know the other Google Meet, participants could not probably hear that, but thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope we will meet again. Thanks.